$310,605. That's not a luxury car price tag. That's what it costs to raise one child from birth to age 17 in America today. Like an unexpected financial tsunami crashing into your carefully planned budget beach day. In this documentary, we're breaking down the real cost of raising kids in 2025. We've found families who are making it work without winning the lottery or living on ramen. They've discovered practical strategies that actually work in real life. Financial shortcuts they wish someone had told them earlier. Consider this your parenting money survival guide, packed with actionable solutions you can implement today. The real price tag, breaking down the $310,605 child-raising cost. Ever wonder what that $310,605 child-raising price tag actually includes? Spoiler, it's way more complicated than you think. When the Economic Policy Institute dropped that number, most of us had the same reaction. Is raising a kid really that expensive? The answer is yes, and honestly, it might be even worse than their estimate suggests. Let's break down this financial roller coaster. That $310,605 represents what it costs to raise a child from birth to age 17 in today's economy. Compared to the 1980s equivalent of about $187,000 in today's dollars, we're looking at a massive 66% increase. Our parents definitely had it easier, with childcare and healthcare costs taking up half the percentage of their total child-raising expenses compared to what we face today. So where exactly is all this money going? The breakdown might surprise you. Housing takes the biggest bite at 33% of the total. That's about $102,500 over 17 years. Food comes in second at 25%, which is roughly $77,650. Childcare now represents between 7 to 23% of the total, depending on your location and situation. The remaining costs get divided between transportation, around 14%, healthcare, 9%, and clothing, 5 to 7%. Ever wonder how these numbers translate to real families struggling with these costs every month? Let me show you. The Johnsons are a low-income family, making $45,000 annually with 2 kids. Their monthly child-related expenses break down to $800 for housing. They needed a larger apartment. $650 for food, $680 for childcare, subsidized. $240 for healthcare, $200 for transportation, and $130 for clothing. That's $2,700 monthly just for kid-related expenses. Over 70% of their take-home pay. Meanwhile, the Williamses represent a middle-income household earning $85,000. Their child-related monthly costs look like $1,200 for housing, mortgage on a 3-bedroom home, $850 for food, $1,400 for full-price childcare, $350 for healthcare, $300 for transportation, and $200 for clothing. That's $4,300 monthly, about 60% of their take-home pay. Then there's the Taylors, a high-income family making $180,000. Even they feel the pinch with monthly expenses of $2,200 for housing, mortgage on a 4-bedroom home, $1,100 for food, $2,800 for premium childcare and enrichment activities, $450 for healthcare, $500 for transportation, and $350 for clothing. That's $7,400 monthly, about 50% of their take-home pay. See the pattern? No matter your income level, kids take up a huge chunk of your budget. It's wild. Take the Martinez family, who I met while researching this video. Maria and Carlos are expecting their first baby in 3 months, while still tackling $78,000 in combined student loans. We thought we were being super thorough, Maria told me. But every week we discover some new expense we hadn't considered. The latest was cord blood banking. That's $2,000 we hadn't even thought about. Carlos added, "We've cut our budget to the bone, but between my student loan payment of $580 monthly and Maria's $490, plus saving for her unpaid maternity leave, we're struggling to figure out how childcare will fit into our budget after she returns to work." Their story highlights a crucial point. The standard calculations often miss significant costs. The Economic Policy Institute's number doesn't include things like cord blood banking, college savings, additional life insurance, estate planning, or the hidden costs of career interruptions. Speaking of hidden costs, let's talk about childcare. The average family now spends nearly a quarter of their income on childcare alone. 24% of your household income could be going just to have someone watch your kid while you work. And in 38 states, that annual childcare cost exceeds in-state college tuition at public universities. For the average family with an infant in center-based care, the annual cost has reached $14,760 nationally. But in expensive states like Massachusetts and Washington, D.C., that number jumps to over $20,000. Even in more affordable states like Mississippi and Alabama, you're still looking at $7,000 to $8,000 annually for just one child. What makes this expense particularly brutal is its timing. Unlike college, which you can save for over 18 years, childcare hits when parents are typically at their lowest, earning potential, often still paying off student loans, and trying to save for their first home. The Martinez family is looking at childcare costs of $1,250 monthly in their Midwest city. That's $15,000 annually, or nearly 20% of their combined take-home pay. We've been told to get on wait lists before the baby is even born, Maria explained. Some centers have 12 to 18-month waiting lists, and we can't even afford the ones with shorter waits. This childcare crunch disproportionately impacts women's careers too. With costs so high, many families do the math and realize one parent's entire salary would go almost entirely to childcare. This forces tough decisions about career breaks that have long-term financial impacts beyond the immediate childcare savings. The truly frustrating part? These massive childcare costs aren't translating to high wages for childcare workers, who remain among the lowest paid professionals despite their crucial role. The system is broken from every angle, unaffordable for parents, unsustainable for providers, and unfair to workers. The childcare crisis. Why daycare costs more than college? When daycare costs more than college tuition, you know something's seriously wrong with the system. That $310,605 child-raising number we talked about? The childcare portion of that is growing faster than any parent's budget can keep up with. And let's get real about what parents are actually paying right now. The average weekly cost for a nanny has jumped to $766. Daycare centers are charging $321 per week, and even family care centers will set you back $230 weekly. All of these costs have increased since last year, with daycare centers seeing the biggest jump at 13%. Remember when your parents told you to save for college? Well, daycare might actually be the bigger financial hurdle. For many families, these expenses translate to financial nightmares that dwarf student loans. In New Mexico, infant care costs exceed $14,000 annually, nearly $1,200 monthly. About 90% of residents there can't afford that according to federal affordability definitions. Washington, D.C. parents face even steeper costs at $419 weekly for infant daycare, making it among the most expensive childcare markets nationwide. What transformed this situation from challenging to catastrophic? The childcare cliff. Imagine families happily walking along, managing their finances, when suddenly the ground beneath them disappears. That $24 billion in pandemic emergency funding for childcare programs has vanished, leaving about 70,000 providers scrambling and parents tumbling into financial freefall. The effects are evident everywhere. A recent survey found 54% of parents reporting longer wait lists post-pandemic. Sarah, a Boston mother of twins, experienced this firsthand. I applied to 12 centers when I was 5 months pregnant. My twins are now 14 months old, and we just got off the wait list at our third choice center. Some places told me the wait could be up to 2 years. This isn't unusual. 65% of parents spend time on daycare wait lists, often longer than pregnancy itself. Many register their unborn children for daycare before announcing the pregnancy to extended family. The Johnson family in Seattle exemplifies this struggle, paying $24,000 annually for their 2-year-old's daycare. We basically have 2 housing payments, explains Michael Johnson. We're paying more for someone to watch our daughter during work hours than we're paying for the roof over our heads. How does that make any sense? What's driving these astronomical costs? It's a perfect storm. Inflation has hit providers hard. cited by 55% of parents. 53% report fee increases at centers, and 39% point directly to the childcare cliff's impact. Meanwhile, childcare workers remain severely underpaid, averaging just $13 an hour, less than many fast food employees. This creates a vicious cycle where centers charge more to operate, but can't pay enough to attract qualified staff. The nationwide shortage of childcare workers drives up costs while reducing availability. The math simply doesn't work. Centers need specific staff-to-child ratios for safety, especially with infants. Unable to find enough workers at current wages, they either raise prices or reduce capacity, both hurting families. No wonder so many parents struggle to find spots despite paying thousands. As costs skyrocket and availability plummets, America's childcare system has reached a breaking point where families across income levels are feeling the squeeze, forcing them to create innovative solutions just to make ends meet. Many families now create what experts call a patchwork quilt of care. About 34% rely on relatives or friends. Mom watches baby Mondays, grandma takes Tuesdays, a neighbor helps Wednesdays. While this saves money, it creates logistical chaos and lacks stability. Fortunately, some families have discovered innovative approaches that slash costs while maintaining quality. Nanny sharing allows 2 or more families to coordinate schedules and split a single caregiver's cost, saving 40 to 60% on childcare expenses. Here's how it works. The Mills family needs childcare Monday, Wednesday, Friday, while the Patels need Tuesday/Thursday coverage. Instead of separate solutions, they hire one nanny and split costs based on usage. The nanny gets full-time work with competitive pay, and both families save thousands. Lauren Davis, a financial advisor specializing in family planning, says, "Nanny sharing is revolutionary for many clients. 2 families paying $24 an hour for a quality caregiver is much more manageable than each paying $18 to $22 hourly for separate sitters. Children also get socialization benefits similar to daycare, but in a more controlled environment. Some create mini childcare pods with 3 or 4 families hiring caregivers for all children in rotating homes. This can reduce costs to daycare comparable levels with better child-to-caregiver ratios." Ashley Kim, participating in a Chicago 3-family pod, reduced her childcare costs from $2,200 to $1,300 monthly. "We take turns hosting, eliminating facility overhead. Our nanny gets paid well, kids have built-in playmates, and we've formed a support network with other parents. It's been life-changing." Other families use technology, like the Babysitting Co-op app, to exchange childcare hours without money changing hands. A modern take on community childcare models our grandparents relied on. What's evident is that parents aren't waiting for policy solutions. They're creating alternatives out of necessity. Faced with childcare costs exceeding college tuition, families are finding innovative ways to protect their financial futures. Housing reimagined. Alternative living arrangements, saving families thousands. Just when you thought we'd covered the most painful part of raising kids, here comes the housing crisis to crash the party. The traditional American dream of homeownership is looking more like a fantasy for many young families. While parents are getting creative with childcare solutions, there's an even bigger expense hiding in plain sight. That cute little house with the yard you've been dreaming about now costs a whopping 132% more than it did in 2009, while wages have barely kept pace. Remember how we mentioned housing gobbles up a third of your child-raising costs? Let's put that in perspective. For many millennials, the very concept of homeownership feels like chasing a mirage that keeps moving further away. Millennial homeownership has stagnated at 54.9%, which is actually lower than what baby boomers experienced at the same age. The math just isn't mattering for our generation. The housing shortage is serious business. We're currently short about 3 million homes nationwide, with experts predicting that gap will widen to 4 million by 2025. With nearly half of Americans, 47%, saying they simply cannot afford to buy a home, we're trapped in a market that basically says good luck with that down payment while you're also paying for daycare. Less supply with constant demand creates prices that make you want to curl up in a blanket fort and never come out. But here's where things get interesting. Families are completely rewriting the rules of the housing game, creating innovative solutions that transform financial burdens into opportunities. Take the Chun family, for example. After their second child arrived, they stared at their mortgage payment with pure horror. Rather than flee to a cheaper area, they converted their garage into a rental unit, creating an income stream that significantly reduced their effective mortgage cost. "We realized we were sitting on unused space that could generate income," Mrs. Chin explained. "The conversion cost was significant upfront, but the monthly rental income has been a game changer for our family budget." This approach, called house hacking, is just one strategy gaining popularity among young families. Another is the return of multi-generational living, but with a modern twist. Unlike previous generations where this arrangement stemmed from tradition, today's families make this choice with clear-eyed financial calculations. These calculations paint a compelling picture. Multi-generational households function like interwoven safety nets, saving between $18,000 and $28,000 annually on combined housing and childcare costs. Imagine the impact of shared mortgage payments, built-in childcare from grandparents, consolidated utility bills, and fewer duplicate expenses. That's serious money that can go toward other financial priorities like debt repayment, emergency savings, or even the occasional sanity-saving date night. Multi-generational living delivers benefits beyond finances. Many families report stronger family bonds, better distribution of household responsibilities, and reduced isolation for older family members. Sure, privacy concerns and occasional friction over parenting styles can emerge, but the financial benefits make working through these issues worthwhile. Beyond house hacking and multi-generational arrangements, accessory dwelling units, ADUs, are gaining traction. These independent living spaces on the same lot as a main house, whether granny flats, in-law suites, or backyard cottages, offer flexibility that traditional housing lacks. They transform into rental units when extra income is needed, provide housing for aging parents, or become launch pads for adult children transitioning to independence. The key to making family housing work in this economy is flexibility, explains urban planner Maya Rodriguez. The old model of buying a forever home and staying put for 30 years doesn't match the financial realities or the lifestyle needs of today's families. This flexibility is appearing in new home designs too. Architects are creating spaces with movable walls, convertible rooms, and modular components that evolve as family needs change. A nursery becomes a home office, transforms into a teen bedroom, and eventually converts to a rental space, all within the same footprint. Perhaps the most radical shift is happening in how young families think about homeownership itself. The emotional attachment to single-family homes has been deeply ingrained in American culture, but that psychological framing proves increasingly harmful as housing costs continue to outpace income growth. The forever home myth locks people into financial decisions that may not serve their actual needs, explains financial therapist Leslie Jordan. Many families stretch themselves thin to buy the biggest house they can qualify for, not realizing they're sacrificing other important financial goals in the process. More families now embrace what Jordan calls housing as a utility, viewing their living situation as a practical need to be met efficiently rather than emotionally. This mindset opens possibilities like intentional communities where multiple families share common spaces while maintaining private quarters, creating village-like support systems within modern housing structures. Some families are taking even more dramatic approaches. The Richards family of 4 lives in a converted school bus they purchased and renovated for $30,000, a fraction of what a down payment would have cost in their high-priced city. Their mobile lifestyle has eliminated their housing payment while allowing them to experience different communities. "We were paying $2,800 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment," says Melissa Richards. "Now our monthly housing costs are just insurance and occasional campground fees. We've been able to save more in 2 years than we did in the previous 6 combined." Community childcare co-ops, the new parent economy. Think housing looks different these days? Wait till you see what innovative parents are doing with childcare. While families reimagine their living situations, there's another financial burden causing major stress, and the solution might be hiding in plain sight. Did you know the average family spends more on daycare than college tuition in most states? That's exactly why some genius parents are creating childcare systems that are cheaper and potentially better for their kids. The childcare co-op revolution is quietly changing family economics across the country. These parent-run organizations work like a relay race. Families pass on care responsibilities instead of paying premium prices at commercial centers. And the financial difference? Totally jaw-dropping. Breaking down the math, traditional daycare centers charge families around $1,280 per month, while cooperative childcare costs between $400 to $600 monthly. That's a 60 to 70% savings. For families feeling the squeeze of inflation and stagnant wages, this difference can mean financial stability instead of constant stress. Neighborhood Nestlings in Portland shows how it works. 8 ordinary families, tired of those painful monthly childcare checks, established a rotating schedule where parents take turns caring for all the kids. They cut monthly expenses from $1,280 to about $500 while building something priceless, a community of families supporting each other. When we started Neighborhood Nestlings, we were just trying to save money, says Maya Johnson, one of the founding parents. But we've gained so much more than financial relief. Our kids have formed bonds that feel more like cousins than classmates, and we parents have created our own support network that helps with everything from emergency childcare to emotional support during tough parenting moments. Running a successful co-op requires careful planning. Scheduling systems that balance work commitments and fair distribution of responsibilities. Safety protocols covering food allergies, discipline approaches, and emergency procedures. Legal considerations that vary by state, some operate informally, others with liability insurance. Many groups require CPR. And first aid certification for all participating parents. The benefits extend far beyond cost cutting. Children develop relationships with multiple trusted adults and consistent peer groups, creating a village-like environment. Research shows promising results in these settings. Kids often display better social skills and emotional development compared to traditional daycare, likely due to more personalized attention and lower child-to-adult ratios. Children in cooperative care environments often develop stronger emotional regulation skills, explains Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a child development specialist. They're learning in a family-like setting with consistent caregivers who know them well, rather than experiencing the higher turnover rates common in commercial centers. These communities naturally evolve to address other family needs. Meal sharing arrangements where families rotate cooking duties, saving on grocery costs. Skill exchanges where parents offer their unique talents, teaching, financial advice, even haircuts. Hand-me-down economies where clothes, toys, and equipment circulate through the group. Before joining our co-op, I felt so isolated, shares Thomas Rivera, a single father in Neighborhood Nestlings. Parenting wasn't meant to be done alone, but modern life often forces us into isolated nuclear family units. Our co-op has given my daughter multiple adult role models, and me a support system I never thought possible. Starting a co-op is straightforward. Find compatible families with similar parenting values and childcare needs. Many successful groups begin with just 2 to 3 families and expand gradually. Online platforms and neighborhood forums have made connecting with potential co-op families easier than ever. The financial impact goes beyond direct childcare savings. The 8 families in Neighborhood Nestlings save an additional $2,000 to $3,000 annually through extended cooperation. Their meal-sharing arrangement alone saves each family $75 to $100 monthly on groceries while ensuring kids eat varied, nutritious meals. For many families, these co-ops restore the communal aspect of parenting that's been lost in modern times. When extended families lived nearby, they offered built-in support with childcare. As families have become more geographically scattered, that support system has eroded. Childcare co-ops recreate that village-like environment, letting parents share both the challenges and joys of raising children together. The beauty of this solution? It addresses both the financial pressure and the emotional isolation many parents face. By working together rather than individually, families create a system that's more affordable, more nurturing, and more sustainable, proving sometimes the best. Healthcare hacks, managing medical costs from pregnancy through childhood. Just as cooperative childcare creates community solutions, smart families are finding ways to hack an even bigger expense, medical costs. The journey from pregnancy tests to pediatrician visits represents a financial marathon most parents aren't trained for. With the average birth now costing more than $18,000, the healthcare system feels designed to bankrupt new families, unless you know the insider strategies that financially savvy parents are using. Healthcare costs are like that never-ending marathon where they keep moving the finish line farther away as you run. That $18,000 birth is just the starting line. Once your baby arrives, You're facing another $2,000 plus annually for checkups, vaccinations, and those middle-of-the-night fever scares. And these expenses keep growing faster than your paycheck, taking a bigger bite of your family budget each year. Meet the Rodriguez family. When Maria discovered she was pregnant, the initial joy quickly morphed into financial panic when they realized their high-deductible insurance meant $8,000 out of pocket. But they refused to accept this financial blow and got strategic instead. We calculated exactly when our baby would arrive and timed our insurance enrollment to maximize benefits, explains Carlos Rodriguez. By scheduling our plan year to begin 2 months before the due date, we met our deductible just once instead of potentially twice. This smart timing saved them thousands. The Rodriguez family also maxed out their health savings account, HSA. The HSA was a game changer, Maria says. Every dollar we put in was pre-tax, which meant more money for actual care instead of taxes. This simple move saved them approximately $2,000. Tax-advantaged healthcare accounts are powerful tools in the parental financial arsenal. HSAs allow families with high-deductible plans to set aside pre-tax dollars specifically for medical expenses. The awesome part, unlike flexible spending accounts, FSAs, HSA funds roll over year after year, creating a medical nest egg that grows throughout your child's life. For families without high-deductible plans, FSAs still offer major savings by reducing your taxable income. Many parents don't realize qualifying expenses include breast pumps, lactation consultants, and even over-the-counter medications when prescribed. For childcare costs, dependent care accounts, DCAs, work similarly but cover daycare, nannies, or summer camps for kids under 13, dramatically cutting your actual costs. The shocking fact, about 65% of new parents completely miss these tax advantages, basically throwing away between $1,200 and $3,800 each year. That's diaper money, formula money, or college fund contributions vanishing unnecessarily. Understanding childhood medical expense timelines helps you plan better. Year 1, highest costs, 6 well-baby checkups plus first-time illnesses. Ages 1 to 4, fewer visits but costs for speech therapy, developmental assessments, and playground injuries. School age, a brief financial breather until middle school. Preteen years, sports physicals, orthodontics, and vision care enter the picture. When comparing insurance plans, look beyond premiums. Higher premium/lower deductible plans often save money during pregnancy and early childhood when doctor visits happen constantly. Also check for special programs. Many insurers now include free breast pumps, lactation consultant visits, and postpartum support services. We discovered our insurance offered a health advocate service that helped negotiate our hospital bills, explains Maria. They found billing errors and reduced our costs by nearly $3,000. This revelation came simply from carefully reviewing their benefits package, something most overwhelmed new parents skip. Another money-saving move is timing non-emergency procedures strategically. The Rodriguez family scheduled their baby's minor procedure in December after meeting their deductible rather than waiting until January, saving over $1,200. For expecting parents, don't overlook birth cost variations between hospitals. Uncomplicated deliveries can differ by thousands between facilities in the same city. Some families save 40 to 60% with birth centers or midwife care while maintaining excellent outcomes for low-risk pregnancies. Additional strategies that add up. The Child and Dependent Care Tax Credit can provide significant relief on care expenses for families with multiple children. Pharmaceutical company assistance programs for children's medications. Mail-order pharmacy options, 15 to 30% savings over retail pharmacies. Generic medications, 80 to 85% less than brand names. CHIP or Medicaid waivers for children with chronic conditions or special needs, even if your income exceeds typical thresholds. The financial aspect of healthcare can be just as stressful as the medical concerns, says Carlos. But once we understood all the tools available, we felt empowered rather than overwhelmed. We went from dreading medical bills to confidently navigating the system. Budget busters, the unexpected expenses that derail new parents. The average family with a baby has meticulously calculated the big expenses, healthcare, housing, childcare, and feels confident they've got it all figured out. Then reality hits. Suddenly they're dropping $80 on a special, but cream that wasn't in the budget, replacing a $300 car seat their baby threw up in repeatedly, or realizing they need to replace their entire wardrobe because nothing fits post-pregnancy. Welcome to the world of budget busters, the expenses that no baby book warns you about. While Carlos and Maria Rodriguez mastered their healthcare strategy, there's a whole category of financial landmines lurking in the shadows of parenthood. A staggering 78% of parents find themselves completely blindsided by expenses they never anticipated. Those picture-perfect Instagram nurseries hide financial truth bombs that even the most prepared parents rarely see coming. "We thought we had planned for everything," says Sarah Williams, surveying her living room scattered with barely used baby items. "Then we added it all up and realized we'd spent over $3,200 on things our daughter either outgrew in weeks or simply wasn't interested in." This experience represents a pattern financial experts see repeatedly among new parents. The baby gear trap begins innocently enough. You scan a few registries, visit a baby store, and suddenly your home resembles a baby gear showroom. The culprits typically include specialized items, wipe warmers, bottle warmers, specialized loungers. A high-tech gadgets, smart monitors, automated swings. Multiple versions of basics, 17 different pacifiers, anyone. Elaborate nursery decorations that serve no practical purpose. Marketing tactics specifically target new parents' desire to provide the best for their children. Stores place must-have items at eye level. Social media influencers display expensive gear, and well-meaning friends add pressure by asking about specific purchases. All this creates the perfect storm where rational spending decisions get swept away. Pediatric developmental specialist Dr. Jamie Chen advises a minimalist approach. Newborns truly need very little beyond a safe sleep space, diapers, appropriate clothing, and feeding supplies. Most parents could eliminate 60 to 70% of their pre-baby purchases without any negative impact on their child's development or comfort. The minimalist baby approach focuses on multi-purpose items. Convertible cribs that transform into toddler beds, simple cotton onesies instead of elaborate outfits, plain washcloths instead of specialized wipes. Families following these principles typically spend 70% less on baby gear during the first year. Beyond physical items, hidden costs blindside parents, particularly opportunity costs. Career interruptions represent one of the most significant financial impacts. Most parents think only about lost income during parental leave, explains financial planner Rebecca Torres. What they don't calculate is the compound effect of missed promotions, reduced retirement contributions, and salary stagnation. For a professional earning $75,000 annually, even a one-year career pause can represent $500,000 to $800,000 in lifetime earnings. Other stealth budget busters include psychological expenses like increased takeout orders when cooking feels impossible, therapy sessions, and self-care necessities that transform from luxuries to requirements. Insurance premiums spike across health, life, and disability categories. The constant replacement cycle accelerates as babies outgrow or destroy items. "No one told us how quickly babies destroy things," as Mark Williams puts it. Even housing costs can surge through relocations or child-proofing renovations. These unexpected expenses aren't captured in the standard $310,605 child-raising estimate because they vary dramatically between families. Yet they can add an additional $50,000 to $100,000 or more to the true cost of raising a child. Behind each unnecessary purchase often lies a deeper anxiety. The fear of not doing enough, of somehow failing at parenthood before it's even begun. Parents buy things not because their baby needs them, but because they're seeking reassurance that they're doing everything right. Smart families are adopting defense strategies. The Mendoza family implemented a 24-hour purchase rule for any baby item over $50. If we still think we need it after sleeping on it, we buy it. Otherwise, it goes in the nice-to-have list for gift ideas, explains Elena Mendoza. This simple policy saved them an estimated $1,800 in their daughter's first year. Community solutions are emerging too. Baby gear libraries allow expensive items like bassinets and swings to rotate between households, since these items are typically needed only briefly. Others negotiate reduced work hours rather than complete leaves, or use parental leave to acquire skills, leading to more flexible positions. For the Williams family, the turning point came with a mindset shift. We realized we were buying things to feel like good parents, Not because our baby needed them, says Sarah. Once we understood that psychological trigger, we became much more intentional. Their advice to expectant parents? Create 3 shopping lists: essentials, nice-to-haves, and wait-and-sees. Only purchase from the first list initially, then wait to see what your specific baby actually needs. This simple strategy has helped countless families avoid the budget-busting traps that can transform the joy of new parenthood into financial stress. Future-proofing, emergency funds and education savings while raising kids. Minimizing baby gear expenses is smart, but let's talk about that financial elephant in the room. How on earth are you supposed to save for your kid's future when you're barely surviving today? The minimalist approach might help you dodge unnecessary expenses right now, but there's a financial paradox every parent faces: managing today's diapers and formula costs while somehow preparing for tomorrow's massive expenses. And I mean those giant money mountains waiting years down the road. Let's get real about the numbers, because they're kind of shocking. Nearly 7 out of 10 parents have less than 6 months of emergency savings tucked away. How are you supposed to handle a sudden job loss or medical emergency when you're spending a small fortune on daycare every month? And college savings? Forget about it. About 40% of parents have absolutely zero college savings plan in place. Nothing. Nada. Zilch. When you're counting pennies for diapers and formula, setting aside money for something 18 years away feels like trying to climb Mount Everest in flip-flops. Yet some families who face the same financial squeeze are planting tiny financial seeds now that will grow into sturdy money trees later. Take the Thompson family. With 2 kids under 5 and a middle-class income that barely covers their monthly expenses, they've still built both an emergency fund and college savings accounts. Their approach: automation and starting incredibly small. We started by automatically transferring just $25 a month to a $529 plan when our first child was born, explains Rachel Thompson. It felt almost pointless at first, like, what's $25 going to do for college costs? But we gradually increased it as our income grew, and 4 years later, we've got over $4,000 saved already. This is where compound interest works its magic. That seemingly meaningless $25 to $50 monthly contribution transforms over 18 years. A contribution of just $50 monthly from birth could grow to around $20,000 by college age, assuming a modest 6% annual return. Double that to $100, and you're looking at $40,000. That's less than most cable TV packages, but creates a significant education fund. Financial experts consistently point to what they call the financial oxygen mask principle. Just like on airplanes where you secure your own mask before helping others, parents need to secure their own financial future before fully funding their children's education. Parents often prioritize college savings over retirement or emergency funds, explains financial advisor Mark Johnson. But remember, your kids can get loans for college. You can't get loans for retirement. College costs are skyrocketing faster than almost everything else. By the time today's babies reach college, a 4-year degree will cost around $24,030 per year just for in-state public colleges. Multiply that by 4 years with likely increases, and the total might make you want to curl up and cry. But there's hope. Financial planners recommend the 1/3 approach to college funding. Instead of saving the entire projected cost, aim to save approximately 1/3. Plan to pay about 1/3 from current income during college years, and use loans, scholarships, and grants for the final third. This makes the impossible much more manageable. If college costs reach roughly $100,000, your savings target becomes around $33,000. Still significant, but achievable over 18 years. The Thompsons got creative finding money to save. We redirect any found money to our kids' college funds, says Rachel. Tax refunds, work bonuses, birthday money from grandparents. It all goes straight into the 529 plans. They also made saving a community effort. We asked grandparents and relatives to contribute to the kids' college funds instead of buying more plastic toys, explains Mike. Even $25 for a birthday adds up when it's coming from multiple people several times a year. For families who truly can't spare even $25 monthly, emergency funds become even more critical. Consider the Baker family, living paycheck to paycheck with 3 kids. They started with just $10 weekly automatically, transferred to savings. It felt laughably small at first, admits Jennifer Baker. But after a year, we had over $500 saved, which was more emergency savings than we'd ever had before. Now 3 years in, we've got almost $3,000 saved. What makes families successful at saving on tight budgets is automation. They set up systems where money moves automatically from checking to savings before they see it in their balance. This pay-yourself-first strategy works because the money isn't there to spend in the first place. For college savings, 529 plans offer significant tax advantages. Earnings grow tax-free, and withdrawals for qualified education expenses aren't taxed. Many states also offer tax deductions or credits for contributions. The most important lesson from financially savvy families is their balanced approach. They're not sacrificing their children's immediate needs for some distant future. The Thompson family prioritized building their emergency fund before increasing 529 contributions. They also contribute enough to retirement accounts to get employer matches before adding to college savings. It's about finding the right balance for your specific situation, explains Mike Thompson. We've found a middle ground where we're preparing for the future without sacrificing the present. Income boosters, family-friendly side hustles, and career strategies. That balance between saving for tomorrow and enjoying today is super important. But what if I told you some families are actually boosting their bottom line? Parents are discovering financial opportunities hiding in plain sight that let them make more money without sacrificing precious family time. The shocking part? These aren't special skills or lucky breaks. They're strategies anyone can use. Let's be real, budgeting only gets you so far. You can cut your expenses down to the absolute basics, but at some point, there's nothing left to trim away. When you've reached that financial wall, it's time to flip the script and focus on the other side of the financial equation, making more money. Think of it like finding a hidden door to a better financial room. One where you're not just surviving, but actually building wealth. We could save more for college if we cut out every non-essential expense, explained Mike Thompson in the previous section. But what happens when you're already living on a tight budget? This is where income boosting becomes essential. The traditional career path often feels like a brutal choice for parents. Climb the corporate ladder and miss bedtime stories, or step back from career advancement to be present for your kids. Thankfully, modern families are refusing to accept this outdated either/or scenario. Take the Garcia family, for instance. Both Marco and Elena worked for tech companies in San Francisco, where their combined income of $180,000 sounded impressive until you factored in their $3,500 monthly rent for a cramped two-bedroom apartment and $2,800 in childcare costs for their 2 kids. We were working so hard just to barely stay afloat, Elena shares. Then my company announced a permanent remote work policy, and we realized we had an opportunity. The Garcias relocated to a smaller city in Nevada, where they purchased a 4-bedroom home with a monthly mortgage payment of $1,800, half their previous rent. Their childcare costs dropped to $1,600 monthly, and they maintained their San Francisco salaries. We added almost $3,000 back to our monthly budget without working more hours, Marco explains. That's money we're using to build emergency savings and plan for the future. This strategic relocation is becoming increasingly common as more companies embrace flexible work arrangements. According to recent data, many parents have successfully moved to lower-cost areas while maintaining their income levels, essentially giving themselves an instant raise. But what if your job doesn't allow remote work? That's where the workplace revolution comes in. Companies are increasingly recognizing that family-friendly policies aren't just nice-to-haves. They're essential for attracting and retaining talent. Industries leading this change include tech, healthcare administration, marketing, education, and financial services. These sectors are pioneering hybrid schedules, compressed workweeks, and job-sharing arrangements that accommodate family life while providing opportunities for advancement. Marianne Kelly, a human resources director who specializes in work-life integration, notes that parents should actively seek out these family-friendly employers. The conversation around work flexibility has shifted dramatically, she explains. Today, asking about flexible arrangements in a job interview signals that you're looking for a sustainable, long-term position. For many parents, though, the real game changer has been side hustles specifically designed to fit around family life. These aren't exhausting second jobs that steal every moment of family time. Instead, They're strategic income streams that work within the constraints of parenthood. Jessica Martinez, a mother of 2 toddlers, started freelance writing during her kids' nap times. I began with just 2 articles a week at $75 each, she says. That's $600 extra per month that goes straight to our savings account. I work while the kids sleep, so I'm not sacrificing any time with them. Virtual tutoring has emerged as another parent-friendly side gig. David Cohen, a former high school math teacher and father of 3, earns $45 per hour tutoring students online after his kids go to bed. I can make $360 a week working just 2 hours per night for nights a week, he says. The key to success with these side hustles is strategic time management. Successful parents report using strategies such as setting clear boundaries between work and family time, automating routine tasks, and maximizing productivity during dedicated work blocks. I'm super focused during my work hours because I know exactly how limited that time is, explains Ryan Mitchell, who runs a successful Etsy shop selling handcrafted wooden toys. These income-boosting approaches aren't just about making extra money. They're about creating financial breathing room that reduces stress and allows families to enjoy their time together without constant money worries. Financial coach Lisa Hernandez points out that even a modest income boost can have significant psychological benefits. When parents add $500 to $1,000 monthly to their budget, the impact goes beyond the number itself, she says. That extra cushion reduces financial anxiety, which means parents double burden, managing student loans while raising children. While those income-boosting strategies can be game changers, there's a massive financial elephant in the room that over a third of young families are wrestling with every single month. What happens when your student loans and your baby's needs are fighting over the same dollars in your bank account? For 35.7% of households headed by someone under 50, this isn't a hypothetical question. It's their monthly financial reality. Let's talk about the ultimate financial juggling act. You're holding your newborn, completely in love with this tiny human, while simultaneously getting a notification that your student loan payment is due. This is the double burden countless millennial parents face, trying to invest in their children's future while still paying for their own education. Those monthly student loan payments directly compete with childcare costs for the same limited dollars. When your daycare bill, $1,400 on average, and your student loan payment, typically $300 to $850, are due on the same day, neither one is optional. The Kim family experienced this struggle firsthand. When their daughter Sophia was born, they faced $850 monthly student loan payments alongside $1,400 in childcare costs. Over $2,200 each month before diapers, formula, or other baby necessities. By restructuring through an income-driven repayment plan, they reduced their payments by $400. We were drowning trying to pay for both, says Mrs. Kim. The loan restructuring wasn't just a financial decision, it was a mental health necessity. So what exactly are these financial lifelines? Income-driven repayment plans adjust your monthly student loan payments based on your income and family size. Most plans limit payments to about 10% of your income above 150% of the federal poverty level. For a family of 3 earning $60,000, this could significantly lower your payments compared to a standard plan. The best part, after making consistent payments for 20 to 25 years, any remaining balance gets forgiven. For parents in their early 30s with substantial student debt, your loans could be forgiven right around when your kids head to college. Parents working in public service have another powerful option: public service loan forgiveness. Government agency or qualifying nonprofit employees could have remaining loan balances forgiven after just 120 qualifying monthly payments. That's 10 years instead of 20 or 25. This program transforms financial possibilities for teachers, nurses, and social workers balancing parenting costs with student debt. Student loans actively change major life decisions too. Research shows each additional $5,000 in student loan debt makes you almost 8% less likely to get married, with stronger effects for women. When combined with the cost of raising children, many millennials postpone parenthood altogether. The psychological weight is crushing. Parents report constant stress and anxiety about these financial obligations. About 42% of student loan holders stay in jobs they dislike because they can't afford career changes while managing debt, affecting overall well-being and family dynamics. More employers now recognize this problem, offering student loan assistance as part of benefits packages. Companies like Fidelity, Aetna, and Google provide $1,200 to $2,500 annually toward employees' student loans. When combined with family-friendly benefits like on-site daycare and childcare subsidies, these programs make a tremendous difference for working parents. We're seeing a shift in how companies approach benefits, says a human resources specialist. Forward-thinking employers recognize that helping with student loans isn't just nice. It's becoming necessary to attract and retain talent, especially parents feeling the squeeze from multiple directions. Some parents get creative with handling this burden. The Ramirez family temporarily moved in with grandparents to tackle their student loans aggressively. By eliminating housing costs for 2 years, they paid off $42,000 in student debt and built savings before moving back out. Others make strategic career moves targeting loan forgiveness. Jenna Thompson, a speech pathologist with $86,000 in student debt, deliberately sought employment at a nonprofit hospital rather than a private practice. In 10 years, I'll be debt-free instead of still making payments when my daughter starts college, she explains. For families not eligible for forgiveness, loan consolidation can simplify and sometimes reduce payments. By combining multiple federal loans into one direct consolidation loan, parents can extend their repayment period and potentially lower monthly obligations. While this means more interest over time, the immediate monthly relief can be crucial during the expensive early years of parenting. Successful families attack this double burden strategically, restructuring loans through income-driven plans, pursuing forgiveness options, leveraging employer benefits, and sometimes making temporary lifestyle sacrifices for long-term financial freedom. These approaches help parents reduce student loan payments by $200 to $600 monthly during those critical early parenting years when expenses peak. That's the difference between constant money stress and actually enjoying precious early years with your children. The most encouraging part? Parents who tackle this double burden develop financial skills that benefit their families in other areas. The discipline required to juggle student loans and childcare builds money management muscles that pay dividends throughout life, making them more intentional about all financial decisions. Hidden help, government programs, and tax benefits most parents Mississippi. Those financial management muscles parents develop aren't just helpful. They're essential for uncovering what might be the biggest money secret in parenting today. While everyone's busy calculating childcare costs and housing expenses, there's literally thousands of dollars sitting in government accounts with your family's name on them. But here's the crazy part. Most families never claim these funds simply because they don't know they exist. Imagine finding a hidden treasure chest in your own backyard. That's essentially what these unclaimed benefits are. The average family leaves between $5,000 and $8,000 of government benefits and tax savings unclaimed each year, explains financial analyst Jasmine Patel. These systems are incredibly difficult to navigate. Government websites look like they were built in 1997, and finding accurate information feels like searching for a sippy cup lid in a toy-filled living room. Let's break down the biggest missed opportunities. Child tax credit. Up to $2,000 per qualifying child under 17, with $1,600 refundable through the additional child tax credit. You can receive this even if you don't owe taxes. Child Independent Care Tax Credit. Up to $600 for one child or $1,200 for 2 or more children. Childcare subsidies can reduce monthly expenses by hundreds depending on your state and income. A program-specific benefits. Military families, children with special needs, and foster/adoptive families have additional support options. The Patel family from Minneapolis discovered this reality firsthand. Raj and Priya were struggling after their second child was born, despite being financially savvy with comparison shopping and careful expense tracking. We were doing everything right financially, but it never seemed like enough, Raj explains. It wasn't until we met with a financial advisor specializing in family benefits that we discovered we qualified for $7,200 in annual benefits and tax credits we weren't claiming. Their story repeats across America. In a recent survey, 44% of parents who didn't claim the Child Independent Care Tax Credit had one simple reason. They had no idea it existed. It's absolutely heartbreaking to see families struggling financially when there are legitimate programs designed to help them. says Miguel Rodriguez, a tax specialist who volunteers at community centers. I've seen parents break down in tears when they realize they could have received thousands in benefits over the years. First-time parents face particular challenges in navigating this complex landscape. Programs like the Nurse Family Partnership provide home visitation services to new parents, offering resources and support that often include information on government benefits. Unfortunately, many discover these services months after they would have been most beneficial. The system puts the burden on families to discover, understand, and apply for benefits, explains Dr. Sarah Johnson, a family policy expert. It's like hiding money in a complicated maze and then blaming people for not finding it. Beyond tax credits, families often overlook state and local opportunities. At the federal level alone, families might qualify for the Earned Income Tax Credit and education credits, while state-specific tax breaks, nutrition support like WIC, and utility assistance programs offer additional relief. So how can families navigate this confusing landscape? Financial advisors recommend understanding eligibility requirements. Many programs have surprisingly generous income limits. Creating a comprehensive map of potential programs at federal, state, and local levels. And noting income requirements, application processes, and renewal timelines for each. Setting aside dedicated time to tackle applications, either one weekend for multiple programs or one program per week. Treat it like a part-time job, suggests Rodriguez. The hourly rate for the time you spend applying often works out to hundreds of dollars per hour when you calculate the potential return. Financial coach Alicia Chen advises, create a simple spreadsheet with program names in one column, eligibility requirements in another, and application deadlines in a third. Color code based on which programs you're most likely to qualify for. Technology is making this process easier. Benefits.gov offers a questionnaire generating potential program lists. Local community action agencies often provide free assistance navigating benefits. Financial advisors also recommend annual benefit checkups. As your income changes, children age, or family circumstances shift, you may qualify for different programs. The Patel's $7,200 windfall came from tax credits they hadn't maximized, a state childcare subsidy they didn't know existed, and a utility assistance program they assumed was only for lower-income families. The money was literally waiting for us, says Priya. We just didn't know where to look or how to ask for it. The bottom line? Combining all available tax credits, subsidies, and benefits can reduce a family's effective child-raising costs by 15 to 25% annually. That's like getting 3 to 6 months of child-related expenses covered each year. Success stories. Real families making it work in 2025. Those government benefits are just one piece of the puzzle. What if I told you that real families in 2025 are creating financial stability while raising multiple children on incomes as low as $65,000? The secret isn't extreme couponing or working 3 jobs. It's a strategic combination of approaches that most financial advisors never talk about, and the actual budget numbers will probably shock you. Let's meet the Jackson family. With 3 kids under 10 and a household income of $65,000, they should be struggling according to conventional wisdom. Instead, they've built a comfortable life by strategically prioritizing their spending. Their breakthrough came when they mapped out every dollar and discovered they could eliminate $850 in monthly expenses by restructuring childcare arrangements. We realized we had to make hard choices about what really mattered to us, says Mrs. Jackson, whose family created a childcare rotation system with 2 neighboring families. Then there's the Thompson family, who transformed their single-parent household finances through determination and smart planning. I was terrified to really look at the numbers, the single parent admits. But once I did, I realized there were solutions I hadn't considered. Their transformation came through implementing the 50/30/20 rule, allocating 50% to necessities, 30% to discretionary spending, and 20% to savings. This disciplined approach helped them build a $10,000 emergency fund in just 2 years, something that seemed utterly impossible when they started. The visual breakdown of both families' budgets tells a powerful story. Before their financial makeovers, both families were trapped in the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle with zero breathing room. After restructuring, their spreadsheets show not just survival, but actual financial progress. The Jacksons freed up $850 monthly through childcare co-ops, debt restructuring, and strategic use of community resources. The Thompsons identified $1,400 in monthly savings through similar combined approaches. Beyond the numbers, these families experienced profound emotional transformations. The constant anxiety about money was affecting my relationship with my kids, one parent shared. I felt guilty all the time about not being able to provide enough. That crushing weight has lifted as their finances stabilized, replacing stress with confidence. Community support was a game changer for both families. Sharing our struggles with other parents was honestly the turning point, explains one Thompson parent. We realized we weren't alone, and we could help each other find solutions. This connection helped them move from financial chaos to structured systems that anticipate expenses months ahead, preventing the emergencies that previously derailed their savings efforts. The most surprising part? Neither family dramatically increased their income. Instead, they mastered strategic allocation. For the Jacksons, this meant investing time in organizing a childcare co-op rather than working extra hours to pay for daycare. For the Thompsons, it meant developing detailed tracking systems that prevented surprise expenses from blowing up their budget. This financial transformation strengthened their family bonds rather than straining them. We actually talk about money now in a positive way, a Jackson parent explains. Our kids understand the value of things and feel part of our financial decisions. Children in these households aren't kept in the dark. They're included in age-appropriate discussions about priorities and trade-offs. My kids actually get excited about our savings goals now, says a Thompson parent. They see it as a family achievement when we reach a milestone. The resilience these families developed has spilled over into other areas of their lives. Facing student debt and high childcare costs forced them to develop problem-solving skills and long-term planning abilities. They maintained focus despite numerous obstacles, showing incredible adaptability in the face of challenges that would derail most households. What makes these stories so powerful is that they don't require extraordinary circumstances. These families face the same economic pressures, childcare costs, and housing challenges as everyone else. They simply questioned conventional approaches and combined multiple strategies rather than searching for one silver bullet solution. While most financial advice focuses on drastic changes like relocating or career switching, these families succeeded through a combination of smaller, strategic adjustments that collectively made a huge difference. From meal prep strategies to transportation choices, they examined every budget category for optimization opportunities. These families discovered that financial stability creates a positive feedback loop. As they built emergency savings, they avoided late fees, interest charges, and panic purchases, allowing them to save even more and accelerate their progress from drowning in debt to breathing easy with a secure safety net. Most importantly, they found that financial stability didn't mean sacrificing quality of life. By focusing spending on what truly mattered to them and cutting expenses that didn't align with their values, they actually report higher life satisfaction while spending less overall. Their journeys prove that with the right combination of practical strategies anyone can implement, ordinary families can achieve extraordinary financial results, even in today's challenging economy. Throughout this journey, we've seen how families are creating their own solutions to the childcare crunch. A surprising 40% are leaning on relatives and friends, while another 34% have joined childcare swaps or co-ops, practical approaches that drastically reduce costs without sacrificing quality. Smart families don't stop there. They're also tapping into overlooked employer benefits like childcare subsidies and flexible spending accounts. The real secret to family financial stability: proper budgeting that maximizes what you already have. Your family's unique journey begins now. By combining these strategies to fit your specific situation, you're joining a community of parents building stronger financial futures together. Your path to financial peace